unfair to people who paid their student loans or chose not to take out loans?
Is it fair to people who, in fact, do not own multi-billion-dollar businesses to see why these guys give them all the tax breaks? Is that fair? What do you think?
What about people who paid their loans, though, struggled to pay their loans?
The people that already paid their student loans,
right,
they don't get anything out of this deal.
Right.
So my message to all servants, all public servants, all those who are the ones that are volunteering, is out with student debt to go. Here's what you want, if you're worried about how to do it, go to pslf.gov. So the outrage over helping working people with student loans, I think is just simply wrong, dead wrong.
I know we're saving the speeches for a little later, but today we really proved that socialism wins. We are not going anywhere, and we will not stop until we see a socialist slate across this city.
And I want to thank you all, and God bless you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mr. President, how much advance notice did you have of the FBI's plan to search Mar-a-Lago?
I didn't have any advance notice. None. Zero. Not one single bit. Thank you. We're taking an economically responsible course. Independent experts agree that these actions taken together will provide real benefits for families without meaningful effect on inflation. Remember those long lines you guys would all film of cars? Decent looking cars, not jalopies, nice cars. Just waiting for a box of food to be put in the trunk? In the United States of America? Waiting for over an hour to get food in a trunk? Well, good afternoon. When America made our approach is why America's economic recovery was faster and stronger than any other advanced nation in the world. I will never apologize for helping Americans, working Americans and middle class. Just as we've never apologized when the federal government forgave almost every single cent of over $700 billion in loans to hundreds of thousands of small businesses across America. No one complained that those loans caused inflation. There are three key factors what we're going to do today. Student loan payments pause is going to end. It's going to end December 30. I'm extending to December 31st, 2022, and it's going to end at that time. Second, my campaign for president, I made a commitment. That would provide student debt relief, and I'm honoring that commitment today. Using the authority Congress granted the Department of Education, we will forgive $10,000 in outstanding federal student loans. In addition, students who come from low-income families, which allowed them to qualify to receive a Pell Grant, will have their debt reduced $20,000. Both of these targeted actions are for families who need it the most, making under $125,000 a year. If you make more than that, you don't qualify. 95% of the borrowers can benefit from these actions. That's 43 million people. Of the 43 million, over 60% are Pell Grant recipients. That's 27 million people who will get $20,000 in debt relief. Nearly 45% can have their student debt fully canceled. That's 20 million people. Third thing, we're fixing the student loan program system itself. We've talked about this at length. This is really important. We're proposing to make what's called an income-driven repayment plan simple and fair. And here's how. No one with an undergraduate loan today or in the future, whether for community college or a four-year college, will have to pay more than 5% of their discretionary income to repay their loan. That's income after you pay the necessities like housing, food, and the like. You currently pay 10%. We're cutting that in half to 5%. And after you pay your loan for 20 years, your obligation will be fulfilled if it hadn't already been fulfilled, meaning you won't have to pay any more, period. And borrowers whose original balance was less than $12,000, many of whom are community college students, will be done paying just after 10 years. These changes will save more than $1,000 a year on average for the borrower. We're also fixing what's called, and this has been the bane of driving me crazy when I was out of office, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Now, this program forgives student loans to encourage those students who have those loans if they go into public service. And now the department issues emergency temporary changes to retroactively credit public service so accounts and loans are forgiven. And I remember going down after a baseball game. I went to a really good school up in Claymont, Delaware on the Pennsylvania border, and drove down to Newark, Delaware, where my dad worked at an automobile agency. And I walked in and I had my spikes, and because the reason I was going down, when your dad works in an automobile agency, the great advantage, you get a new car to go to the prom, or a good used car off the lot. You think I'm joking? I'm not joking. And so I went down to my 51 Plymouth with beach towels for seat covers, and I had my uniform on, my spikes off. I ran in, and the woman whose name was Mary, who ran the place, I said, "Mary, where's Dad?" She said, "Let's be clear. I hear it all the time. How do we pay for it? We pay for it by what we've done. Last year, we cut the deficit by more than $350 billion. This year, we're on track to cut it by more than $1.7 trillion by the end of this fiscal year, the single largest deficit reduction in a single year in the history of America. And the Inflation Reduction Act is going to cut it by another $300 billion over the next decade. Because I understand not everything I'm announcing today is going to make everybody happy. Something is too much. I find it interesting how some of my Republican friends who voted for those tax cuts and others think that we shouldn't be helping these folks. Something is too little, but I believe my plan is responsible and fair. Let me say it again. 12 years of universal education is not enough. It has to borrow the money. He said, he won't lend it to me. He said, I'm so ashamed. I'm so damn ashamed. You know, my dad would, my dad was like millions of parents all across the country. Want to help the kids to get to school, but there was just no way to be able to do it. It's something Jill and I, Kamala and Doug, we understand deeply. I'm sure the vast majority of you do as well. But over time, that ticket has become too expensive for too many Americans. All this means is an entire generation is now saddled with unsustainable debt in exchange for an attempt, at least, at a college degree.